This is WSVI Channel 8 News. The voice of the Virgin Islands. Starting now.
Get out of the car. Start talking to your people. Wind down your window. If somebody needs a little bit of help, give them that help.
News Channel 8, brought to you in the Virgin Islands by Omega XL.
I ordered this thing and I got it. I'm pain free, and it's all because of Omega XL.
Today is White Cane Day, Centers for Independent Living. As you can see, we have Senator Gittins blindfolded to go through the experience of being blind. Today we're here in Frederiksted, St. Croix with the Lions Club. And we have different members from our community. Let me see your son.
I was driving. Okay, I'm ready to run it. Yeah, you say you're running it. Home, and then the car home.
I don't know.
Okay, one second.
White Cane Day.
This is News Channel 8.
To the time in our studios, it is now 29 minutes after the hour of 8 o'clock, and a very pleasant good morning to each and every one of you. Well, of course, as we indicated, we are having in the studios here today the Commissioner of the Department of Public Safety, or the Virgin Islands Police Department, and it is Trevor Valinor, and we certainly want to take this opportunity to welcome him here to the studios of Reef Broadcasting, and particularly on this program, VI in the Morning with St. Clair and Williams. Well, so with that background that you have, I think you're the right person in the right place. I think that most people here in the territory would say that, particularly in regards to our gun situation that we're finding that is so prevalent, illegal guns, so that is so prevalent here in the territory. So what are some of your plans for the department, and particularly to address this particular situation?
Yeah, so I've talked a little bit about this previously, and I'll reemphasize that my vision for the Virgin Islands Police Department is the people's vision. I've taken liberty to engage with people, just talk to them about, the Virgin Islands and what's important to them. The number one priority in the United States Virgin Islands is public safety. People need to feel safe. We need to know that we can go to beaches and feel comfortable. On the way here, I landed in the territory on July 11th. And when I got here, on the way, I stopped in Puerto Rico, and I was speaking to a young lady, and she indicated to me, sometimes I don't feel safe. And it's not that she's directly in the line of fire, but it's that she's concerned that the narrative has been that they've been enough lawless individuals out there that adversely impacts our community, right? And another young lady said to me, Trevor, you can't come on the beach as a female and walk the beach unless there's a bunch of people out there, because we don't feel comfortable. So the narrative needs to change. We need to get control of our community. So public safety is the most important thing for our residents. They need to know that we're doing something about the nature and the level of violence in the territory. Of course, currently we're under a consent decree. And what that means is that we're being policed by another agency. Essentially, they're looking at what we do all the time, and we need to get to the point where we're demonstrating the effective accountability to handle our own business. So we have an independent monitoring team that looks over us and makes sure that we're crossing our T's, dotting our I's, and at the same time that we're ensuring that we're maintaining the whole issue of constitutional policing and not violating people's rights and so forth. So that's very important to us. Building trust between the police and internally within the police department, and also between the police and the community, is also so important to us as the Virgin Islands Police Department. We're such a small community that police live within the community, and the community is made up of police officers. It's not like where you're stateside and you live in one community and then you go and you live in a suburb, but you police the one area, and then you leave at the end of the day, the end of your shift. Here in the Virgin Islands, we all live together. We're one people with one aim, and in this case, the aim has to be public safety and doing what's right, even when nobody's watching, doing what's right. And lastly, folks, I know that we need to do a better job, so connecting to the people so we can recruit people to become police officers. It's one of the highest calling that there is. to protect and serve, to serve others. I think it's so important. And so throughout my career, I've always emphasized the responsibility of myself and those who I supervise and manage, where we have to be professional, we have to be accountable, and we also have to be effective in our communication with each other. Those are some of the things that I think it's so important for us to develop a connection to the community when we're professional. And, what the community needs, we provide the service. Because when an officer leaves his home, he's no longer about self. He has to be about community. An officer who puts on that uniform and that badge, it's all about service to others from that point on.
That is so true. Well, I must tell you this, is that my family, we come, a long line of police officers. My father was a police officer for 20-something years. He retired as a sergeant, Sergeant James N. Williams, of course. And then my brother, he was a police officer, and he retired. That's from the VI Police, also VIPD. Also, my son became a police, and he was with the Port Authority Police, and then he moved to the States and was a police over in Georgia, Atlanta. And now he retired from that. He's now a jet pilot, with an air ambulance group, And then I had a son-in-law also who was a police officer. So came from a long line. And like you said, in terms of police officers, when they leave home, they're no longer of that particular family, but they're for the entire community. And I tell you, my father was such a police officer that if I committed a crime, he'd be the first one to arrest me.
And he
or
should.
he'd give me a ticket, And then not only that, and even when I got involved in politics, I always used to hear him say, even when you're a police officer, you don't play sides, you got to be, in the middle. And really, he didn't even used to talk politics. Of course, he had to change a little bit when I got involved in politics and I ran for Senate, but he wasn't that open with it, per se, because he always said I would not put a sticker on my car because I have to be, in the middle, so that, that I am making sure that I'm fair with everyone and no one take that in any way, in a negative way. But it is so important. But the thing of it is that with policing, here in the territory, I see we're having a problem, it seems like, in recruiting local people to become police officers. And I wonder why that is happening.
Well, I think that law enforcement over the years, we've seen the diminished energy in terms of people's support for law enforcement. But yet, and I say this historically, when I lived in St. Thomas, when I've oftentimes kind of planned in advance, okay, what will I do in a certain situation? And I've oftentimes said, if someone breached my home, there are burglars in my home, and me and my wife is in one room, and my children are in a different room, and, I recognize that someone's in my house, I am going to go and address the threat. But I'm going to tell my wife, hey, call 911. Call the police. Because we expect that they're going to respond swiftly, they're going to engage, and they're going to help me to save my family if we're in a dire situation. And I still believe that when people understand the calling of law enforcement, which is to serve others, is to protect, to provide that security to others, I think you recognize that it's truly a noble profession. In every profession, there are folks who may go renegade, and they have to be held accountable. But I think we can do a better job, literally focusing on the individuals and telling them more about what we do. Because a lot of times, the public creates a narrative about law enforcement, but law enforcement, we don't get out there and talk about what we do. And so we got to do a better job doing that and letting people know that there's no separation in the territory between policing and the community. For us to be a civil community, we absolutely need good police officers. And I oftentimes would say, and I will continue to say, that to go after the worst of the worst, you need the best of the best.
But as we talk about recruitment and you talk about the community, we need the involvement of the community also. And like you say, is that basically to get that involvement, the community have to have real respect also for law enforcement. And so we know that the police officers can't solve the crimes on their own. It needs the public to be involved. And so somehow we need to, as you say, begin to build trust, with our community. And so what are some of the efforts that you're utilizing to try to do that? I see something that you said you want the police officers, the vehicles, to get out that tint, out of the glass of the vehicles.
Yes.
And then even maybe walking within communities.
Yes, we want to touch the flesh. People want to engage with this is such a small, intimate community, the Virgin Islands, that people want to know their police officers. They want to know that they are protected when they share information with their police officers. And if they're not encountering you and engaging with you, then they're not going to necessarily feel as though they can trust you. Virgin Islanders like to daps. They like to gear heel up. They say good morning, son. And in the process, you will engage in conversation. So we can't just simply ride around, patrolling and not getting out and touching the flesh. So I'm calling for my officers to get out of the car, start talking to your people. Wind down your window. Heal up people. Stop. If somebody needs a little bit of help, give them that help. Let them know that you're concerned about them, right? Police officers do that routinely, but we can do more of that here in the territory, right? Also, I'm going to be doing town halls, just getting into the community and having engagement. I'm asking people to call the commissioner's office and say, Commissioner, we want you here. We're having this meeting. We'd like for you to be here. Test me on it. I'll come on down. I'll meet the community. I'll talk with you. I'm going to be hosting my own town halls also, where I'm bringing people out. But I've been to several town halls so far. And I've been very disappointed because people have not come out. I know Van St. Croix, it seems like when there's a little bit of rain, people stay home, right? St. Thomas, they'll still come out a little bit more. But absolutely, we need to do things where people know that they can connect with the law enforcement officers, with our police officers. Engagement is so essential to people. That's how they're able to tell you something in your ears. If they're not comfortable with calling the police or calling 911, because they see you right there and then, and because they've seen you multiple times and you treated them well and with respect, they're likely to say, hey, let me tell you what's happening on my corner.
There are things you just want more of, like cat videos, your favorite series, vacations, delicious subs. That's why Subway brings you new 2 for $10 footlongs. Choose between 5 of our most satisfying, melty, and crave-worthy signature sub favorites. Get more of what you love. Every day from 4 p.m., come in for 2 for $10 footlongs. Make it what you want, only at Subway USVI restaurants.
This is the nimble Chevy Trax, the versatile Chevy Equinox, the stylish all-new Chevy Blazer, and the roomy Chevy Traverse with seating for up to 8. The Chevy family of SUVs. No matter what you're looking for in an SUV, Chevy's got you covered.
Current competitive owners can get $4,750 total cash allowance on most Equinox models. Find new roads at your local Chevy dealer.
Was that an earthquake? No. What do you do if there's an earthquake? Drop, cover, and hold on. What does that mean? You drop to the ground, take cover underneath a sturdy table or desk, and hold on until the shaking stops. What if there's no table or desk? Stay away from the walls, windows, and doorways. Use your hands to cover your head and face, and crouch in a corner of the building. But what if you're outside? Go to an open space away from buildings, trees, street lights, and utility wires. Drop to your knees, protect your head with your arms, and wait for the shaking to stop.
Restez vigilant pour tout ça qui est au monde. Et préparez pour changer côté où il est si nécessaire. Pendant un temps blanc, n'importe bagaille qui est capable de déplacer avec tomber, cloison, la porte, fenêtre, meuble et appareil capable de poser danger. Changer, protéger tête ou n'importe bagaille qui est capable de déplacer. Pas panique. Consentité à tromper, accroupi, couvert tête ou avec espérer pour. C'est une commission par groupe management des as bien fort et classe management des as en Saint-Lucie, et financé par l'Agence pour développement international Amérique, Bureau assistance des as de l'autre pays.
Blended for the way we live our active lives.
all natural, no side effects. Delivered right to your door anywhere in the Virgin Islands. 1-800-852-3780.
This is News Channel 8.
The financial state of the government of the Virgin Islands is in disarray. GERS, our hospitals, our schools, combined by infrastructure needs, having a utility company that has been unreliable for decades with no real strategic plan. It's a challenge. The people of the Virgin Islands have suffered long enough. Thus, the government must look for ways to recoup what it has lost. In 1966, the Virgin Islands began to refine gasoline for sale in the United States at a rate of 4 cents per gallon in gasoline tax. In today's market, the price has escalated to more than 18 cents per gallon. This translates into billions of dollars that is owed to the Virgin Islands. In 1977, the Virgin Islands sought to collect on the gasoline excise taxes that are owed to the territory. The case was filed in a district court where it was asserted that the cover-over provision was clear and unambiguous. The district court granted summary judgment for the Virgin Islands and concluded that the gasoline tax revenues must be covered over. It stated that the gasoline tax was in all respects similar to the liquor taxes that had traditionally been covered over. When the litigation commenced, it was over $97 million owed to the territory during the period of 1966 through 1976. The Court of Appeals consolidated the Puerto Rico and Virgin Islands gasoline tax cases when the federal government considered a cover-over statute upon which the Virgin Islands relied to be identical in all essential aspects to that of Puerto Rico. In reversing the district court for the District of Columbia, the Court of Appeals began by observing that the cover-over provision was not clear and unambiguous. Contrary to the district court's assertion, but rather was replete with ambiguities. The Court of Appeals resorted to traditional statutory interpretation aids, such as legislative history and administrative construction. The Court of Appeals focused only on Puerto Rico cover-over statute and their legislative history, thus reversing the district court's decision, and ordered it to enter judgment in the consolidation case in favor of the United States. The district court held that Section 28A of the Revised Organic Act of the Virgin Islands required the Secretary of the Treasury to cover over into the Treasury of the Virgin Islands all custom duties collected on goods transported into the United States from the Virgin Islands. Currently, the Internal Revenue Code, 26 U.S.C., Section 7652, subsection B1, shipments to the United States, provides for cover over of a certain percentage of all taxes imposed by and collected during the fiscal year under. The Internal Revenue Laws of the United States on articles produced in the Virgin Islands and transported to the United States. The Virgin Islands can collect on excise taxes, but the federal government considers the aforementioned excise tax is only applicable to bulk rum. To be more specific, Puerto Rico, under the same statute, has a rate of tax. The Virgin Islands has taxes imposed in the United States, and it's a far difference between articles of merchandise of Puerto Rico manufactured into the United States and withdrawn for consumption or sale shall be subject to a tax equal to the internal revenue tax, versus the Virgin Islands, which is upon articles coming into the United States from the Virgin Islands, a tax equal to the internal revenue tax. If it's a matter of interpretation, that means timing is everything, and now is the time. This body is presented with an additional opportunity to petition the Virgin Islands Delegate to Congress to amend the Organic Act of 1954 with language that will not be ambiguous. Line 3 terminals will be online and exporting fuel and fuel byproducts out of the territory very soon. Are we to benefit? Are we to sit back and wait for something to come to us?
Truth be told, it's really true that heavy lifting is the only way you get the results that you need. So we need to make sure that if we are going to support this as senators, that we also make the commitment to do the heavy lifting to push this forward. Now, I need to ask former Senator Cole, where was the former delegate on this issue when you and the others took this matter to Washington, D.C.?
The former delegate was basically resigned to the idea that we weren't going to get anything.
I see. So there was no support there.
It was settled law at that point in time.
And the reason why I asked the question is because I see that we have 2 members of the governor's cabinet. And again, as I said earlier, if we are not going to make this a collective activity or approach this from a collective perspective, then, you know, we're kind of wasting our time.
And Senator, I must say that the Honorable Vaughn Hatch came before the legislature and challenged the delegate to Congress at that time when she stated the fact that this is settled law. I mean, he laid it out, and I've seen portions of that in what you presented, Senator Hodge, that it was there, and we took the battle because we believe that the return would have been excellent for us. Serious business. At that time, Rangel was the
2 minutes.
the majority, the ranking member for the Democrat. Had a very good relationship with then former delegate to Congress. But we had believed in this issue so much.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
We believe in the issue. I want all of us to believe in the issue, and that's my concern.
Yes.
And I just need to ask the governor's team, and either one of you can answer, from your conversations with the governor, what is the governor's commitment to this particular issue?
So in conversations with the governor, he fully supports this measure, and to my knowledge or my understanding, he is committed to working with the delegate and the 33rd legislature to actually get some type of action on this measure. It's been a long time that nothing has happened, and I think he's, from my knowledge, again, he's committed to ensuring that something happens this time.
This is News Channel 8.
The following is a statement by Premier and Minister of Finance, the Honorable Andrew A. Foy.
My people of the Virgin Islands, good day and God's blessings. Caribbean Statistics Day is being observed today across the region and in the BVI under the theme, Building the Resilience of the Caribbean Community. The role that statistics plays in the overall development of a territory like the BVI can never be overemphasized. It is always important to know and be able to measure how far we as a people have progressed and where we are headed in the social, financial, and in the economic context of our development. The extent to which high-quality data can be obtained and properly utilized to inform policy and decision-making is critical in these challenging times of rebuilding. I encourage everyone to visit and support the activities of the Central Statistics Office, especially their statistics information display that will be located at the ground floor, east wing of the Central Administration Complex today. Your comments and suggestions will be most welcome. let us endeavor to create and support a culture of statistics both at home and within the broader region, as we recognize and celebrate the important contribution that this science has made to our development. Thank you, and happy Statistics Day.
This is News Channel 8.
This is the nimble Chevy Trax, the versatile Chevy Equinox, the stylish all-new Chevy Blazer, and the roomy Chevy Traverse with seating for up to 8. The Chevy family of SUVs. No matter what you're looking for in an SUV, Chevy's got you covered.
Current competitive owners can get $47.50 total cash allowance on most Equinox models. Find new roads at your local Chevy dealer.
There are things you just want more of, like cat videos, your favorite series, vacations, delicious subs. That's why Subway brings you new 2 for $10 footlongs. Choose between 5 of our most satisfying, melty, and crave-worthy signature sub favorites. Get more of what you love. Every day from 4 p.m., come in for 2 for $10 footlongs. Make it what you want, only at Subway USVI restaurants.
We now have Omega XL. You don't need to suffer anymore. The natural anti-inflammatory power that is packed into the green lip muscle is so amazing that back in the 60s, even NASA researched it, searching for nutritional and medical benefits for astronauts. Omega XL will help your pain, and you can live the life you deserve. Omega-3 fatty acids are essential because the human body needs them for many functions, from building healthy cells to maintaining brain and nerve functions. Green lip mussels are rich in EPA and DHA-free fatty acids, which are needed to fight pain and inflammation. Omega XL is a pure, potent, and highly concentrated anti-inflammatory in a small, easy-to-swallow capsule. You don't need to suffer anymore. Omega XL will help your pain, and you can live the life you deserve.
This is News Channel 8.
Caribbean remains in the peak of the hurricane season as we go through October, but despite this, conditions are pretty quiet. No tropical cyclone set to develop, at least within the Caribbean Sea over the next few days, but there will still be those tropical waves passing through. One that's set to pass across Jamaica as we go through midweek. A few brief showers likely here, and cloudy conditions, if not a touch hazy as well, as the tropical wave passes and drags some Saharan dust into the Greater Antilles. That Saharan dust will linger across the Leeward Islands, namely for St. Kitts, Antigua, as well as Dominica, but further to the south, it will continue to see a few clouds as another tropical wave comes into Barbados. Some showery spells here could turn thundery and heavy as they go through Wednesday, and eventually spreading towards the rest of the Lesser Antilles through Thursday. Meanwhile, across the Gulf of Mexico, it's pretty quiet, but there's still some very warm waters there, and it's this time of the year we tend to see some sort of development. We could be seeing some of that through later on at Wednesday and Thursday, so we'll keep an eye on that as we go through the day. So that's your weather, and that's it from me.
We are underway in the 7th minute as well. Deep run, early shot is safe. Deflected shot in the back of the net, and Barbados has an opening lead. Delivery from the right side. Barbados takes left. Off the crossbar. Oh, first time touch is in! Rashad Julius tonight. Now a chance for Barbados, and they have a third! Right off the bench, maybe his first touch. Back post, free header, 4-0 Barbados. Zico Phillips, and there's the full-time whistle from Randy Encarnacion.
News Channel 8, brought to you in the Virgin Islands by Omega XL.
And I ordered this thing and I got it, and I'm pain-free, and it's all because of Omega XL.